favorite activities to help a child understand what happens to their brain during a tantrum is the glitter jar activity found in the awareness section of the Growing Guide. This gives a child a visual of how emotions can cloud our vision and make it difficult for us to see clearly. As you set the jar on the counter and slowly watch the glitter settle, a child learns that calming our bodies and minds takes time and patience. Oftentimes, we must let emotions pass through us and settle like glitter passing through the water. Our bodies send messages to us through sensations. This is how we know when we're hungry, tired, or need to go to the bathroom. Our emotions also send us messages through sensations in the body. It might be a tightness in the chest, a headache, tension in the muscles, a stomachache, tingling limbs, or extreme fatigue. As adults, we often push aside these physical sensations, telling us about the emotions in our bodies. My personal way for managing emotion is pushing it down or aside and telling myself everything's okay and to keep moving forward. About 8 months ago, I experienced my first panic attack. It was a really frightening experience. I didn't understand what was happening until it happened again within about a week. They both came on pretty randomly and were not necessarily triggered by anything specific. In my experience, they began with a nauseous feeling in my stomach, leading to lightheadedness, then tightness in the chest, tingling in my hands and on my face. The second panic attack I experienced was much more intense and felt like an out-of-body experience. I felt like I couldn't breathe and I was really scared because I didn't know what was going on or how to get out of it. Moving forward was a difficult time because I didn't know if or when this would happen again. I had one of these experiences while driving in the car and I had to pull over because I couldn't drive. Worrying about one of these episodes happening in public or while I was caring for my kids only heightened my anxiety. These panic attacks were my body's way of telling me I needed to release my stress, anxiety, and negative emotion I had been ignoring and bottling up. I couldn't ignore it anymore because my body's physical and physiological response was negatively impacting my life. I share these very personal experiences with you to help you know that if you've experienced this or are going through something similar right now, you're not alone. I didn't realize how common this was until I started opening up about it. Share your struggles with someone you trust so you can get the help and support you need. I also want you to know that while I teach emotional intelligence, I still have my own emotional struggles I'm working through every day. Know that I'm constantly working to learn and improve my own mental and emotional health and hoping to provide real solutions for you too. I'm going to walk you through my journey and process for healing. The amazing part is that when I found myself in this low point of anxiety, I turned to the process I teach my kids for guidance on what to do for myself, and it worked. These are universal concepts that can be applied to every age from 0 to 100. When a child encounters big feelings, telling them to calm down, stop crying, or not allowing them to be upset is not helpful. We must give them the tools they need to manage it. This step-by-step process to healthy emotional regulation is what I call emotional scaffolding. It's providing a step-by-step process for them to follow and something they can do with your guidance and support as early as 2 years old. The goal over time is that they rely on this pattern and follow it on their own with little prompting and minimal assistance from you. The first step for managing emotion is to recognize it in the body. As soon as I feel nauseous or a tightness in my chest, I recognize it as a negative emotion. Then I label the emotion verbally. I will often say out loud, "I'm feeling anxious," or "I'm feeling overwhelmed, overstimulated, or frustrated." Giving the emotion a name out loud helps it to feel less overwhelming and more manageable. When we know what we're feeling, we can move towards the most helpful way to manage that specific emotion. Dr. Justin Coulson says, "Name it to tame it." Upon leaving the hospital after the birth of my first child, the nurse said, "Just know that your 2-year-old might hate you when you bring this baby home." I thought there's absolutely no way. Maybe for other people, but not my sweet, happy boy. Well, guess what? She was right. The weeks following the introduction of a new sibling were incredibly hard. My oldest son was acting out in ways I'd never seen before. Huge emotions were emerging, and managing the meltdowns felt almost impossible. As relationship expert Dr. Matt Townsend teaches, there was a lot of smoke. This looks like any negative behavior such as hitting, fighting, biting, ignoring, sibling rivalry, tantrums, outbursts, seeking attention, or whining. I had to step back and identify the fire or where this smoke was coming from. What was the emotional need not being met that was causing such negative behavior? The fire can be anger, jealousy, lack of control, fatigue, hunger, discomfort, or fear. I knew that bringing home a new baby would bring up a lot of emotions in my toddler, so it was pretty easy to identify the bigger issue. You can teach a child as early as they can talk to name their emotions. I started to talk about the emotion of jealousy with my 2-year-old. We talked about what it might feel like in the body, a tightness in the chest, or a hurting tummy. We talked about how he might feel jealous that he has to share mom with another baby, or that taking care of a baby takes a lot of time and mom is busier than she was before. We talked about how it's kind of hard when everyone who comes to visit wants to see the baby first. I told him, when you're feeling this way, you can tell me, Mom, I'm feeling jealous. If you tell me how you're feeling, then I know how to better help you and give you what you need. If you're screaming or throwing toys around, it's hard for mommy to know what you're feeling. The progress that happened after this was taught and then practiced was miraculous. He began to use his words to express his feelings, and I often heard him say multiple times a day, I'm feeling jealous. By simply verbally expressing his feelings, he felt heard and better understood. This improved communication and clarity and also allowed me to better support him and recognize when he was needing some extra love and attention. I would often respond with something like, I know it's hard to share mom with the baby. Can we have some special time reading together while he takes his next nap? The negative behavior that was coming from my 2-year-old was coming as a result of emotional labor. He was experiencing new struggles and a big life change that he didn't know how to manage. Next time your child is struggling, avoid jumping to frustration and determine the physical or emotional labor they're dealing with that they're not equipped to carry. Then you can move forward by scaffolding the new skills that they need to develop to improve their behavior. Teaching my child how to name his emotion out loud empowered him to be able to deal with these confusing feelings and new experiences. Remember to help your child remain in the zone of proximal development. Are we expecting or asking too much of them? Are we teaching them the skills they need to overcome and succeed in a certain area? These are some of the questions you can ask yourself as you become a problem-solving, proactive, and intentional parent. The next step after recognizing emotion in the body and then labeling it is choosing an emotional management strategy. Both children and adults can have a toolbox of strategies ready to use at any time to calm their body and mind. When I was in college, I took a stress management class. One of the assignments was going to a stress lab on campus. They hooked me up to a heart rate monitor and asked me to think about everything that was stressing me out at the time. Afterwards, they showed me a video of my heart rate on the screen during that time. It started raising slowly and then eventually started racing. My thoughts alone about potential threats caused a physical response in my body. They continued to monitor my heart, and I cleared my mind and began taking deep breaths for about 1 minute. My heart almost immediately was able to return to a normal pace. We talked about the response of stress in the body. When we're stressed, we stop taking full deep breaths and our breath turns to short, shallow, restricted breaths in our upper chest. It is this lack of oxygen in the brain that makes it difficult for us to think logically and calm our bodies. Every time I feel a negative emotion rising in my body, my first management tool is always deep breathing. Plants in a garden must have oxygen in the air and soil to break down nutrients and absorb energy. If a plant's roots cannot breathe, they will wilt and die. Not all breaths are created equal. Make sure to give your body full, deep belly breaths every single day to get that brain the oxygen it needs to thrive. Doing so will calm your heart and mind and bring your body back to the present moment. There are so many ways to teach a young child how to do deep breaths. I share more of my favorite ways in the Growing Guide. In our home, we most often use alligator breaths, we blow out candles, and we find our ninja calm. Make learning breathing techniques fun and lighthearted. When my child is struggling after removing them from a situation, I'll remind them that they can take deep breaths to help their body calm down. Sometimes this works really well, and other times they don't want to be told what to do in the moment and it only aggravates them. One of my most favorite breathing techniques for young children is called synchronized breathing. This is a co-regulation technique that models and teaches breathing as an emotional management strategy without you ever having to say a word. When your child is calm enough for a hug or to be held, begin taking deep breaths yourself. Your child will often copy your breath and begin breathing in sync with you. The child can recognize the calming feeling that comes when we breathe deeply. Last summer, I knelt on my mudroom floor as I was putting shoes on my 2-year-old. I was overwhelmed and emotional. I had tears streaming down my face. My 4-year-old noticed my distress, came up to me, and gave me a big hug. Within seconds, he started taking deep breaths for me. No words were exchanged. We sat for a few minutes and synchronized our breathing. I felt calm and cared for. It was an expression of love that touched me so deeply. You never know when something you teach your child will come back around to bless your life. He was reminding me how to calm my body and my mind when I really needed it. The sympathetic nervous system prepares our body for fight or flight. This is the body's natural response to stress or danger. The parasympathetic nervous system is the body's network of nerves that calms the body after a stress response. It controls your ability to relax. It is often called rest and digest state, as it calms the functions of the body such as digestion, perspiration, and heart rate. Breathing techniques are intended to activate the body's parasympathetic nervous system. This skill can be strengthened and become muscle memory over time, giving your body a habitual stress response. Here are a few other breathing techniques you can try. Box breathing is an ancient yoga technique used to reduce stress and improve concentration. This is often used by athletes, Navy SEALs, police, and nurses to stay calm during intense situations. Find a comfortable position sitting up or lying on the floor. Begin by exhaling and emptying your lungs. Slowly count to 4 in your mind as you breathe in through your nose, keeping your tongue on the roof of your mouth, gently pressing against the back of your teeth. Pause at the top and slowly release your breath through your mouth while counting to 4. Focusing your mind on counting can shift your mind away from other thoughts of worry. Repeat for 5 to 10 minutes. For belly breathing, find a comfortable position lying down on your back. Place one hand on your belly and one hand on your heart, or both hands on your belly. Empty your lungs to begin. Slowly breathe in. As you do so, you should feel your belly rising and filling with air, focusing on pushing that air down into the lungs. Slowly exhale through pursed lips and tighten your abdominal muscles, getting all the air out. This technique slows the heart rate and stabilizes blood pressure. Repeat for about 10 minutes. 4-7-8 breathing promotes better sleep and reduces stress and anxiety and can manage cravings. You can do this one while sitting up straight or lying in bed if you're trying to fall asleep. Begin with an exhale and breathe in slowly for a count of 4. When you get to the top, pause and without straining, hold your breath for a count of 7. Slowly exhale with pursed lips for a count of 8 through your mouth. Repeat for 8 to 10 cycles. Try incorporating a meditation and breathing practice into your daily routine. Breathing for just 5 minutes is a great way to recenter and recharge. You might find it's easier to stay consistent by connecting it to something you do every day, immediately after you wake up or brush your teeth before bed. I like to imagine our emotional stress tank like a big bucket. Each daily stressor, large or small, is adding a cup or more of water to the bucket. Each time you intentionally participate in a stress-releasing activity, it's like putting holes in the bucket and letting water drain out. This helps the water from reaching the top and spilling over. When we go a period of time without releasing that stress, it's stacking on top of each other or filling up our emotional capacity until we can't hold it in anymore. Both adults and children need to regularly and intentionally release stress and emotionally recharge. If you pay attention to this concept, you might be able to see more clearly your child's emotional stress tank filling up throughout the day or week. Help your child stay emotionally regulated by incorporating some of these activities into their daily routine. Physical activity is one of the best ways to release stress in the body. Get your child running, playing tag, sports, dancing, swimming, or hiking. Exercise is a great way to increase endorphins and reduce stress and improve mood. Make time for creative expression. Give your child time to create art or music in their own way. This is a healthy way for both children and adults to process emotions. If you notice they're having a hard time emotionally, you might ask them to draw a color that describes how they feel. Write a story or color a picture that tells you what they're feeling. Spending time in nature is one of my favorite activities to do with my children. Studies have shown that spending time in nature reduces symptoms of stress, anxiety, and depression in children. Additionally, nature provides a soothing and calm environment that helps children improve their attention and focus as they explore and connect with the world around them. In the Growing Guide, you can find a printout to hang up in your child's room or playroom with many different ways they can calm their body and their mind. There is also a chart for you too. Some of the things you can do to manage your stress are read a book, take a hot shower or bath, cold plunge, write in a journal, call a friend to talk, learn more about something you're passionate about, do some yoga, exercise, lift weights, go for a walk, meditate, do a breathing exercise, drink more water, ask for help, turn down the lights and light a candle, go somewhere quiet or get some sunshine. As we intentionally manage our own stress, we are able to ride the ups and downs of parenthood with more control of our emotions and responses. Our capacity for adversity is increased, as well as our inner peace. Our mental health must be as much of a priority as our physical health. After my experience with panic attacks, I started to be more intentional about my mental and physical health. I got back into my morning routine and started exercising again. I started drinking more water, taking supplements, and then also was making sure to release that stress every single day. I had to prioritize making time for my own mental health. One of the things that really helped me during this time was writing in a journal. I would write down all my thoughts and feelings and have some way to get it out. I also spent a lot of time talking with friends and seeking support in that way as well. I also followed the pattern that we just went through of naming emotion and turning to our toolbox for emotional management responses. I would do deep breathing or know that I needed to do some stretching or have some time outside in the sun. As we learned in our lesson about the anger ladder, we need to help our children get to healthy responses with their emotions. They're going to have anger and other negative emotions that has to come out. So we have to give them healthy ways to do that. For example, if your child is biting, this may be a sensory response. Try giving them a stuffed animal or teething toy, something that they can bite on instead of another human. If your child is hitting another child, you need to redirect them to go punch the couch or a pillow or clench their fists. Sometimes with my kids, we'll link our hands together like this and we'll squeeze for 10 seconds as hard as we can. 1, 2, 3, just a way for them to release that energy and feel all those tense emotions in their muscles, and then we slowly release and relax our bodies. If your child is expressing anger in an unhealthy way, they need other solutions. Just like we've been talking about in this entire course, we must scaffold them to get from point A to point B. Simply telling a 2-year-old not to hit another child is not very helpful if you're not giving them a solution. It's a combination of redirecting their behavior to something more appropriate, as well as making sure that they're emotionally balanced by providing physical activity every single day, ways for them to get out that energy that's really going to help them improve their behavior and emotional management skills. This is especially helpful in our home. I have 2 little boys, they're 2.5 years apart, and they are constantly wrestling. They have tons of energy and lots of aggression that we need to get out intentionally. So I'm always encouraging them to run around outside, wrestle with each other, and do activities that help them release that energy. Thank you so much for joining me in this lesson today. I'm cheering you on as you plant seeds of emotional awareness in your home. And remember, you are a gardener.